I'm looking forward to us having a really great time this evening, and I would like to introduce to you someone who most of you probably know. He's a gentleman who has probably done as much as anyone to promote country music, banjo music, and the folk lore of Tennessee and the South, Dr. Charles Wolfe.
Thank you all. Welcome to Banjo Meltdown 2. I hope you all are seated comfortably because you're going to be here a long time. We got more good musicians back here than you've heard of in a long time. Let me start off by setting the tone tonight with a famous quotation from a famous statesman named Aikman, I believe, otherwise known as String Bean. String Bean, of course, is not with us now, but he set the tone long ago for what we're doing tonight. Here's what he said. He said, "The man who plays the banjo has it made. It never interferes with any of the pleasures of life." That's what we're here tonight to celebrate, and I'd like for you to make welcome the person who will be the co-MC with me tonight, an individual who you have, I'm sure, read many times as the folk music columnist and critic for the Nashville Banner, Mr. Jay Orr. Jay?
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, everyone. It's an exciting evening, as Charles says. It's an honor for me to be here. I'm sure I speak for Charles there, too, on what has to be a historic evening. I think it's safe to say that never before has such a talented and diverse roster of masters on any instrument been assembled, and I'm looking forward to hearing the music that we're going to listen to this evening, as I'm sure you are. This is your chance, those of you who are not involved in the Tennessee Banjo Institute, this is your chance to get in on what's been going on out at Cedars of Lebanon State Park for 2 days now, and another day is scheduled for tomorrow. There are seminars and workshops and concerts out there as banjo players learn from the masters that we're going to hear tonight. Just a word about the format of our program. We're going to start with what is called in your program a burn, opening burn I think it's called, and then we're going to move through some different stylistic categories and try to make some sense out of all this. Our first group, the folks that are going to do the opening burn for us, are all united by one characteristic at least, and that is that they are multi-instrumentalists. The banjo is perhaps in some cases what they're most familiar with, but they're all versatile musicians in many ways. Our first artist this evening was hanging around a music store in Long Beach, California in August 1966, and he ran into some other musicians there. The guys that John McEuen ran into were forming a new band, and John convinced them that they needed one more member. Together, that group became the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. 21 years and 20 albums later, John headed out on his own, and he's been working solo now for about 3 years. He has a new solo banjo LP in the works, and we're happy to welcome him this evening to start off Meltdown 2. Please make welcome John McEuen.
Well, that's about it. Thank you.
I'm really glad to be here tonight, and by opening, I get to see everybody else play. It's neat to be part of it, be one of the players, because, well, I got in free. Maybe I should start off and share with you something my brother told me many years ago. He said, if the banjo was any good, the Beatles would have used it. And tonight I get to say he's wrong. He's my older brother. He's about 6 months older than I am. So here's a medley of tunes that I'll put together from places I've taken this old 5-string. Tokyo Hilton, 1975. Here's a song I never heard on the banjo before, and traveling song. Now, if you're going to play the banjo contest, this wouldn't be a good night to do it. You might want to dress it up a little bit like this, do a little bit different. It's called the Arkansas Traveler. Get down, funky Arkansas. I'd like to thank, before I walk off the stage here, I'd like to thank Earl Scruggs for giving me a whole direction for I guess, my life. A lot of banjo pictures. Here's an old tune that I recorded with him once called The Soldier's Joy. That's how it sounded back in the old days. Then around 1878, they invented aerobic bluegrass. And it sounded more like this. Thank you. We're all going to have a great time tonight. Thank you.
John McEuen.
Got us off on a good note.
That was great. That's just a sample of what we'll be hearing tonight. Each time we come out here and talk about these artists, I want you to understand that there's a lot we could say about every one. This is truly a gallery of greats that you'll be seeing here this evening. We'll limit our intros to what we consider to be the most essential things, and you fill in the blanks.
That's right. There is some material about all these people in your program books if you have a chance to look at them, and we can tell you where to get more information if you get curious about them.
That's right. Our next guest, although perhaps better known as a guitar player, has been playing the banjo since he was 11 when he started using an instrument his father made for him by stretching a groundhog skin over a hickory hoop. I think the story goes that he later replaced the groundhog skin with the skin from an old cat. He got a guitar the following year in 1935, and on both instruments he played with his North Carolina neighbor, Gaither Carlton, a fiddler and banjo player himself. In 1960, when Doc was playing a Les Paul guitar in a country western band, Ralph Rensler from the Smithsonian Institution came down. At that time, he was connected with the Newport Folk Festival and visited Doc. And by the next year, Doc, Gaither Carlton, Fred Howard, and Clint Price were all playing music for city audiences in New York. He has been featured on 39 albums, many representing his fine clawhammer banjo playing, and we're happy to have him here with us tonight. Accompanying Doc will be Jack Lawrence.
Right, and once Doc gets going, he's going to introduce a special guest that'll be backing him and playing with him on a couple. A remarkable lady named Eda Baker, who's also from the mountains of North Carolina, and she comes from a long line of pickers herself. So it'll be a very special treat, and we're going to turn the stage over now to one of the real legends, I think, in bluegrass and country music, Mr. Doc Watson.
Thank you very much. The late Gaither Carlton that he mentioned was my father-in-law. Here's a little tune called I Wish I Was a Mole in the Ground. Shawl, yeah. Little Timpy wants a $9 shawl. When I come over the hill, that $50 bill gonna bring her that $9 shawl. I don't like that railroad man. No, I don't like that railroad man. That old railroad man ain't gonna cheat you if he can. Right down to your last long dime. Pick it, Jack. Could fly like a dove, could fly like a little turtle dove. If I could fly like a dove, I'd fly away to my true love. And I wish I was a little turtle dove, or I wish I was a woolly boogie bee. Yes, I wish I was a woolly boogie bee. If I was a woolly boogie bee, I wish I was a mole in the ground. If I was a mole in the ground, I'd rip that mountain down. And I wish I was a mole in the ground. In old-time banjo playing, there's about as many tunings as there are tunes, I've heard said. About the first tune I heard my dad play on the banjo was an old-timer called Reuben's Train. When he showed me how to play this, he said, "Son, this is the way the train blows." Reuben made a train, set her on the track, run it to the Lord knows where. Oh, me, oh, my Lord, he run it to the Lord knows where. And you ought to been uptown, heard old Reuben's train go down. You could hear that whistle blow 100 miles. Oh, me, oh, my, hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Walking along these ties, great big tears in my eyes, trying to read a letter from my home. If his train runs right, I'll see my woman tomorrow night, 900 miles away from home. Pick one, son. Spent last night down in jail. I had no money for to go my bail. Lord, how it sleeted and it snowed. And they left the windows open. It sleeted and it snowed. Lord, it rained and it blowed. Lord, how it sleeted and it snowed. Yeah, so Reuben made a train, set it on the track, and run it to the Lord knows where. Oh, me, oh, my, run it to the Lord knows where. All right. All right, buddy. Come and get me. And now let's welcome Miss Eda Baker from Morganton, North Carolina. Let's hear it. Strum on your banjo so I can hear where you are. We're so close together you couldn't drive a splinter between us. How about that? Had to get mine away from old Reuben there. What would you like to pick, Eda?
Going down the road feeling bad.
All right, let me hear you. Going down this road feeling bad. All bad luck, she's all I've ever had. Going down this road feeling bad, Lord, Lord, and way down in jail on my knee, Lord, Lord, and I ain't gonna be treated this way. Pick it pretty down. All right. Sweet mama won't buy me no shoes. Oh, Lord, she's left me with this lonesome jailhouse blues. My sweet mama won't buy me no shoes, Lord, Lord, and I ain't gonna be treated this way. Going down this road feeling bad. Bad luck's all I've ever had. Going down this road feeling bad, Lord, Lord, and I ain't gonna be treated this way. Play it, Etta. Going where the climate suits my clothes. Going where the chilly wind never blows. Yeah. Going where the climate suits my clothes, Lord, Lord, and ain't gonna be treated this way. And it's going down this road feeling bad. Bad looks is all I've ever had. Going down this road feeling bad, Lord, Lord, and I ain't gonna be treated this way. Play it one more time. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Doc Watson and Eda Baker. Let's give them a big hand. Okay. Next up, we've got Eddie Adcock and the Eddie Adcock Band. Eddie spent his earliest days in bluegrass with Bill Monroe and Mac Wiseman, and for about 12 years he was a foundation of the Country Gentlemen. Later on he formed Second Generation, and now he plays with the Eddie Adcock Band and with the Masters that include Josh Graves, Kenny Baker, and Jesse McReynolds. Let's make welcome the Eddie Adcock and the Eddie Adcock Band.
Adcock and band. Okay, we're getting ready to switch into a different set here, and while we're doing that, I want to recognize some people out there in the audience tonight. You know, the main reason we have this concert is because of a series of workshops and tutorials that we put together called the Tennessee Banjo Institute. And this is what these people have been doing up at Cedars of Lebanon State Park for the last 2 days. And I'd like to have the people who are in that institute tonight stand up and say howdy to you. I'd like to have all the members, the students of the institute. Are you all out there someplace? Stand up and say howdy to everybody. They're down here, I think. Let's give them a hand. They've been working hard. They promised us they'd get some sleep tonight. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, one of the things about the banjo that surprises people is that even though it is one of the most American of instruments, it actually came over here from Africa. Back in the early days of the 18th century, Thomas Jefferson, among other people, remembered in his diaries listening to some of his slaves on the plantation play an instrument he called the banjar. And we think they were probably playing something that was similar to today's banjo. And even though today the banjo is associated a lot with bluegrass music, if you'd been in Tennessee or any place in the South, really, about 100 years ago, and if you'd found talented black musicians, the chances are they would have been playing either the banjo or the fiddle. The guitar, as far as we know, didn't really become all that popular until about 1910 or 1920. There's still a tradition of African-American string band music alive, and one of the things we're trying to do at the Tennessee Banjo Institute is to pay some heed to that and try to explore it a little bit and understand what makes it different from the kind of banjo music that we have today. And we've got a person who's going to come on stage in a few minutes that will start this next particular seminar in African-American music. Jay?
That's Taj Mahal. Taj's eclectic tastes. Yeah. His eclectic tastes encompass blues, folk, rhythm and blues, jazz, African and island music. He's made 12 records for CBS, 2 for Warner Brothers, and he's just recently completed a 15-country tour of Africa. Please make welcome Taj Mahal and Winston Bennett.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
Falling down. When you hear me hollering, baby. Oh, when you hear me hollering, baby. Oh, when you hear me hollering, baby, well, you know it's your daddy calling you. Well, the blues is on the ceiling. Yes, the blues is on the ceiling. Well, now the blues is on the ceiling, all running down the wall on the ground. Babe, now I used to tote your water. Yes, I used to tote your water. Well, you know I told you water, baby, carry your water from the boggy by. Ooh, I'd rather be the devil. Yes, I'd rather be the devil. Well, I'd rather be the devil, baby, than to be that woman's man. Won't you call on your mama? Won't you call on your mama? Won't you call on your mama? Tell her, wait she please stay with you. Well, you're the mighty rumbling. Well, I heard a mighty rumbling. Well, I heard a mighty rumbling, babe, not a rumble so much deep down in the ground. Thank you. Thank you.
Taj Mahal. Yeah. Right there.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the pleasure this evening of having one of my ancestors, and I mean really serious. I have studied to find that I am a part of this gentleman's tribe from the Mandinkas in Mali who were throughout the Songhai Empire. He is a young man playing an instrument which is known in his place as the Halam or Nkoni, which is the grandmother, all be all of the banjo. I would like to introduce at this time from Bamako, Mali, Mr. Seku Kuyate.
that come from thousands of years of playing, transmitting the music to my hands. The song that you'll hear now is a song that I composed myself. I call it African Blues for Bobby Fulcher, who gave us the honor to invite us here to represent our music.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
The song that you're about to hear is called Kitakuru. It's a praise of the origin of the Mande peoples. But we'd like to take this opportunity to honor all of you string players, to say that we would really, what an honor it is for us to be invited here among the great string players of the world, and that we are trying through the heritage that has been given us to represent the knowledge of our people and bring it to you. We give you our blessing. Our blessing to you and long life to you and your children. We hope you pass the knowledge of your strings on to your children and your children's children, and may we all live in the love of each other's music. Kitakuru.
Okay. Okay. Ça va chauffer.
you, thank you.
Back in 1924, in an event that is otherwise not very important historically perhaps, two wonderful mountain ladies from North Carolina went to New York and made records. One was a fiddle player named Eva Davis, and the other one was a banjo player named Samantha Baumgartner. They didn't think too much about what they had done, but when they got back, and years later they came to find out that that was the first time American string band music had been put down on records. And since that time, women have played an important part in the development of banjo music. It's a history, though, that has only now really beginning to be recognized and beginning to be recovered a little bit. And we want to present the next set here as a tribute to some of the pioneer women banjo players and some of the ones who are still going on today and doing so well. I want to, first of all, though, talk a little bit about the group that's going to be coming out here as a backup group, because you'll be seeing them several times tonight, and I think now is a good time to introduce them. We call them the Cedars of Lebanon Jug Band, and it's a group that is formed up at Cedars of Lebanon and includes a number of people from around here who are very, very skilled at doing what they do. The fiddler is Jim Wood, who is a student of Buddy Spiker's and grew up near the Pinewood Valley Ranch. The banjo player here in most cases will be John Hedgecoth from Jacksonville, Florida. He's a sideman with Vernon Ray, with Wilma and Stoney Cooper, with Bill Monroe and others. David Greer will be known to most of you for his solo work on Rounder, as well as his work with Clarence White. Mark Schatz is going to be known as for his bass work with the Tony Rice Group. Brent Truitt is often heard with a group called the Cluster Pluckers, which is one of the big new groups that you've been hearing on radio a lot. Dean Crum is here. He's often heard with the Cluster Pluckers as well, and he also plays backup with Holly Dunn. And Richard Bailey is with us, and these people will be coming out and acting as sort of a backup band for a number of people, but the individual that we're going to spotlight tonight is one of the wonderful pioneers and one of the most exciting performers in bluegrass music. She comes from a family that is one of the founding families of modern country music. Her father was one of the premier recording artists back in the 20s, and she has carried on the tradition. She's known to you today through her work on Hee Haw and a number of other shows. Please make welcome Ronnie Stoneman.
Yay! After what I heard out here, I think that was the most wonderful thing I've ever seen, and I loved it. That gentleman out there first is unreal. I just loved him. We're going to do one called Foggy Mountain Breakdown, and these two young men here agreed to pick with me. I never picked with them before, but I thank them, and I'm going to pick. more fun in my life. If I knew banjo was going to be this good, I'd have started before I did. I went and saw every kind of picker there was to be had today up there at the Banjo Institute in Cedars of Lebanon, and I've been thrilled to be asked to pick and grin up there. And I've been picking forever, it seems like. And the whole family, I'm from a family of 23 children, but that's not my fault. Well, my mother and daddy, my grandfather picked the banjo and the fiddle, but Mama was hard of hearing. That's why there were so many children. This is true. Mommy was hard of hearing, and Daddy would come home at night and say, "You want to go to sleep or what?" And she'd say, "What?" When you're hot, and when you're not, you can't give it away. I'm talking about music. Okay, my next number. Roll Dixie.
Ronnie Stoneman. That was a great example of how women can play bluegrass. Now we're going to give you an example of how women can play earlier styles of old-time banjo. The person that's coming on next is Matoki Slaughter. She is from the Blue Ridge Mountains, actually not too far, I think, from where Ronnie and her family grew up. She's going to be accompanied by Alice Gerard, who is not only an excellent musician in her own right, but she's the editor of the foremost music and foremost magazine in old-time music called the Old Time Herald. So please make welcome with me Matoki Slaughter and Alice Gerard.
I'm going to play a little bit of Steelhouse.
Matoki Slaughter and Alice Gerard. Let's give them another big hand. We're going to bring out a trio of super pickers here now. We're going to feature Janet Davis, who's from Texas and writes the backup column for Banjo Newsletter. Also joining Janet will be Murphy Henry, who is originally from Florida and now lives with her husband Red in Winchester, Virginia. I believe that's right. She pioneered the Murphy method of banjo instruction without a tablature. And the third member of this trio is Allison Brown, who is, as of January, a member of Alison Krause's band, Union Station. Allison originally hails from California. She's made records on her own and with Stuart Duncan, the fiddler, and she's, as I said, now a member of Alison Krause's Union Station. Allison has also just recorded a neat new LP on the Vanguard label, just out this month. Producer on that record is David Grissman. This will conclude our spotlight on women's banjo section of the program. Then we'll move on to some international banjo music. But as I say, this group is one of the best that we could assemble of women who are on the vanguard of banjo today. Are you all enjoying yourselves? That's good. As Charles explained, we're also going to have the Cedars of Lebanon jug band back in these groups. So these folks will please make welcome Janet Davis, Allison Brown, and Murphy Henry.
Thank you very much. Since there are three women up here, we'd like to do a little medley of tunes for you. We'll start off with Sally Gooden. I'm going to play that. Janet Davis is going to play El Comanchero. Allison's going to play a tune she wrote called Leaving Cottondale. And then we're going to close out with a little bit of Lonesome Road Blues. And it sounds like this right here.
Janet Davis, Murphy Henry, and Allison Brown. Let's give them a big hand.
Okay, while we're setting up for the next set, which will feature international artists, a couple of announcements here that might be of interest to you. If you like some of the music you're hearing tonight, many of the artists who are at the Tennessee Banjo Institute have brought their records and tapes, and we do have a couple of tables set out front in the lobby, so later on, if you hear something that you really feel like you can't go home without, I'm sure they'll be glad to accommodate you. Also, later on, if you start getting a little bit wilted with all this hot music, we do have a concession stand out in the lobby. You cannot bring drinks or food into here, but you can certainly slurp them up out there. Jay, what's next on the program here?
We were looking at international music and William Ball, Charles.
Right. William Ball is a last-minute addition to the program. Derek Lillywhite, I think, may be on your original program, but we're really gifted, and we're very happy to have William Ball with us. He is one of the most famous banjoists in the world. He's from Bristol, England, and I understand this is his first trip to the United States. He's been a veteran of the BBC in London and is also recognized as one of the finest traditional classical banjo players around. So would you make welcome Mr. William Ball, please?
I'd like to play you a piece, Zarana, by Joe Morley.
William Ball from Bristol, England. As Charles said, William was a substitution from Derek Lillywhite, who will be participating in some capacity later on in the program, but I did also want to mention that Derek and Chris Sands and pianist Patrick Sykes are going to perform in concert at the Belmont Mansion on the campus of Belmont College Sunday, November 4th at 2 o'clock. That's at the Belmont Mansion on the campus of Belmont College in Nashville. Our next performers are Mick Maloney, who really was responsible for the golden age of Irish banjo, which began in the 1970s and, as I say, was largely attributable to Mick. He moved to Philadelphia in 1973, and he's currently completing a book on Irish music in America. And with Mick will be Jody Stecker, who Dave Bromberg said is basically a teacher to me. He opened up my ears to more beautiful music than anyone else ever did. So please make welcome Mick Maloney and Jody Stecker.
Oh, thank you. One of the best things I can say about my culture is that we had the good sense, not to mention the sophistication, to adopt such an instrument as a banjo into our traditional repertoire. And it was carried over by the minstrel shows in the 19th century, and we hung on to it. What we do is basically tune it like a fiddle, and we play instrumental music. They're called fiddle tunes over here in Ireland. We would never elevate the fiddler to such a position in our society. In fact, we wouldn't elevate anybody to that position. We'll play a reel called The Wise Maid and then a jig.
Mick Maloney. Mick is actually no stranger to Tennessee. He helped come down here in 1982 and do the research and the field work for the 1982 World's Fair we had over in Knoxville, and has liked it, I think, since. Jody's going to stay on stage, and we're going to bring on the next person, Henry Saposnik. He is the director of recorded sound archives for New York's Institute for Jewish Research, and he's one of the leading performers of klezmerine music, but he's also a very great fan of old-time banjo music, and he's one of the first pioneers in a type of music that we've now come to call melodic clawhammer banjo. He's done a number of records and would like to hear from him. If you make welcome, please, Mr. Henry Saposnik.
Thank you. As mentioned, I play music which is called klezmer music, which is the traditional dance music of the Jews of Eastern Europe, Yiddish music, kind of the comparable old-time string band music. I'm going to play something from that tradition, and it's a medley of 3 tunes. First one is called Doina, which is a kind of an improvised free meter, and it goes into a hora, which is played in 3, and finally into a up-tempo dance tune called a Freilachs, which brings up the theatrical moment to its great height. So this is a Doina medley.
Hank Saposnik and Jody Steckler. In keeping with our international theme, our next performer is Akira Satake, 31-year-old native of Osaka, Japan, who has lived in New York City for the past 9 years. He started playing banjo at the age of 14, and after he moved to New York, he began promoting American bluegrass bands on Japanese tours. His bookings in Japan have included tours for Country Gazette, Tony Trischka, Bill Monroe, Ralph Stanley, Hot Rise, the Nashville Bluegrass Band, and Newgrass Revival. His musical interests are really all-encompassing. He studied with koto virtuoso Keiko Kamata, and he began to assimilate the music of Africa, South America, Ireland, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and Asia. Please make welcome Akira Satake.
Okay, we know that banjo music is truly international, and to kind of round out this set and bring it back home, we're going to bring back on our local band that is acting tonight as a number of backup bands. I've introduced them already, so I'm just going to let them kind of stretch out and show off. I'll mention once again their names: John Hedgecoth, David Greer, Jim Wood, Mark Schatz, Brent Truitt, Dean Crum, and Richard Bailey. The Cedars of Lebanon Jug Band are about ready to take the stage and to kind of show off what they've been doing up there these last 3 or 4 days. The Cedars of Lebanon Jug Band, people.
1, 2, 3, and...
job, great job. Several of these gentlemen are among the faculty members at the Tennessee Banjo Institute up there. Somebody asked me backstage what Cedars of Lebanon meant. I assume that everybody around here knows where Cedars of Lebanon is, but for those of you who may not know, it's the state park that's about 17 miles to the north, and that's where all these people have been hanging out for the last 3 or 4 days. Look, out in the lobby, in addition to some cold drinks and in addition to some tapes, we now, I understand, have some Meltdown 2 t-shirts, so don't forget that you need to pick up a couple of those on your way out tonight. Okay, we're going to do next a section on old-time string bands, and I want to tell you that when I first started studying this kind of music, this was to me about the most exciting stuff I had ever heard. Banjo players did a lot of times play solo, or they did play sometimes just a guitar, but there's nothing more exciting than putting together a classic string band with a guitar, banjo, and fiddle, and perhaps a mandolin. And during the early days of country music, this is a kind of band that really made its reputation. Country music probably wouldn't exist today if it hadn't been for string bands like the ones we're going to see represented here. The old-time bands had funny names. One of them from Galax was called DeCosta Waltz's Southern Broadcasters. Then there was one called the Red Fox Chasers. There was one called Charlie Poole and the North Carolina Ramblers. And there was one called the Skillet Lickers. And these bands, many of them have passed on now, but we do have a lot of representatives from them. And what we're going to do is bring on 4 of these bands. We're going to bring on the first one and let them introduce the next 3 in a row to give you a chance to hear what an old-time Southern fiddle dance band actually sounded like. And we're going to start off with one from the Galax area. Galax, Virginia, for reasons nobody seems to understand, has produced more great old-time musicians than any square footage in the country. And 3 of them are here with us tonight. This is Paul Brown, Andy Cahan, and Carly Marion, the Galax String Band. Gentlemen.
You like that?
This tune we're about to play is one that I put together back several years back. And it's called I Spent All My Money But 15 Cents and Ain't Much of a Joke to It.
Thank you. Come on out to camp tonight. Well, that's some of what's going on in our neck of the woods today, and it goes back quite a long way. That's a new tune, but it's a good old-time style. And let's get ready now to take a ride back to the 1920s and toddle along in a T-model Ford Roadster here and there and get on foot a little bit. Back around that time, there was a gentleman in north-central North Carolina, an area which is now the town of Eden. Once was Leaksville, Spray, and Draper, three towns. His name was Charlie Poole. He was a wonderful singer, energetic musician. He was popular all over the country at dances and parties, and he never could get enough music. He made a lot of recordings back at that time. It was a time when country music was well thought of and very popular all throughout the Mountain South. His fiddler, a good part of the time with the North Carolina Ramblers, was a gentleman by the name of Posey Rohrer. You'll find the fiddle style that you'll hear in a moment is wonderfully lyrical and delicate almost in a sense, very, very accurate old-time country fiddling. Kenny Rohrer is Posey Rohrer's great nephew, and Charlie Poole was also a great uncle of Kenny Rohrer's by marriage. Kenny wrote a book called Charlie Poole, His Life and Songs, and probably a lot of you are already familiar with that. It has the words to the songs and a lot of wonderful photographs and history of Charlie's life. And Kenny's a scholar and a great banjo picker who took to Charlie's music as a young boy when he was listening to records of him and talking with his family about him. Our fiddler tonight is Kirk Sutphin from Walkertown, North Carolina, just outside of Winston-Salem. He's been an apprentice to Tommy Jarrell and to many other musicians in that part of North Carolina and has learned this old Charlie Poole string band style, whether on the banjo or the fiddle, just expertly. Also, Bob Carlin, a lot of you folks know Bob already as a very fine banjo picker and recording artist and all this, and we've got him playing the guitar this evening. He's an excellent guitar player, and there are a lot of people that don't know just how good Bob is on the guitar, but you'll get a chance to hear it tonight. And if we're ready, let's go back into the 1920s and listen to a style of music that was very popular in North Carolina and southwestern Virginia. Make welcome the Poole Band.
Yeah. My wife always tells me that I should have been born about 1890. She said I'd have been a big hit in 1927. All my musical heroes died before I was born, and I suspect that a lot of you out there who had parents or grandparents or whatever that had the old wind-up talking machines, Victrolas, and somewhere in their collection of records back there in the 1920s, if they were in the small town and rural South, and maybe in the Midwest and North as well too, you would have found scattered among their 78 collections some wonderful old-time 78s by a band called Gid Tanner and his Skillet Lickers, with Riley Puckett, Clayton McMitchin, Fate Norris, Low Stokes, and the whole gang. And we're so fortunate tonight to have with us the great-grandson of Gid Tanner, Russ Tanner, who's in the company of Art Rosenbaum, a long-time, old-time musician who's been in Georgia, I believe now, 14 years. And they're going to give you a rendition of some of that wonderful music that James Gideon Tanner gave us way back in the 1920s. All right, gentlemen, are you ready there, Gid? Let her go, boys.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks, Russ Tanner, and thanks to Alistair Arden on the guitar. We'd like to call out now a special guest, Homer Papy Cheryl of Columbia, South Carolina, a wonderful fiddler, and he's going to join us for another composition of this South Carolina, Georgia type band. Papy played with a group called the Hired Hands, still plays with the Hired Hands out of Columbia, South Carolina. He played for about 50 years with Snuffy Jenkins, who was here at the Tennessee Banjo Institute 2 years ago. And Snuffy passed away this past year. We really miss him. He was a wonderful entertainer, a wonderful gentleman, and a terrific three-finger banjo picker, one of the forerunners of the bluegrass style. And so we really miss him. We're glad to have Papy here, and Papy's going to be doing a tune with us. And what you got to give me a minute to get in tune and tell them what it's going to be.
Thank you, Art. You like this orchestra here been playing here? Having a good time? Oh, that's great. It's good to be back here in Murfreesboro at the Tennessee Banjo Institute and back picking and playing the fiddle and all these banjos. And I told them the next time I come, I'm going to put a thumb string on my fiddle. That way I can tune it that way. But I'm glad to be back here. I've missed my old partner, Snuffy, but I was here 2 years ago and enjoyed myself so much, and I'm glad you invited me back. And I know you enjoyed yourselves. I've never heard so many banjos in my life. We're going to have banjo soup next time we come up here. I'm going to play you a little novelty tune this year. Tanner boy back here, he's going to be he's already a real fiddle player. And I'm going to do something a little different, a little novelty tune that I hope you'll enjoy the way I do it. You got it, Art? Okay. All right, it's called Listen to the Mockingbird.
Happy Cheryl. Now we're going to hear a family string band from Carter County, Tennessee, the Roan Mountain Hilltoppers. Wonderful band. I know you're going to enjoy them. They play local type of music, square dance music, community entertainments. They play the old-time two-finger banjo style, old-time fiddling, kind of unorthodox guitar style that I'm sure you'll enjoy. The members of the string band are Creed Birchfield, who's on the banjo. He's 85 years old, the senior member. Joe Birchfield plays the fiddle, and he's only 78. Bill is the one who plays the upside down and backwards guitar. You'll recognize him right away. And Janice on the bass. And they played mostly around home until the last few years, and they've been getting out a bit. They've been playing at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, the Brandywine Folk Festival. They have record out, recordings that you can hear. They play kind of rough and ready style that has the, well, what Bascom Lamar Lunsford called the hilarity of mountain music. They about ready? Okay, let's make welcome the Roan Mountain Hilltoppers.
Do a tune called Sally Ann. Kick it off, Pap.